The Horizon drifted silently through the dark emptiness of space. Captain Juu Park stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main screen. The ship's sensors had picked up something strange, a signal coming from a distant star system. "What do you think, Captain?" asked Officer Min, who monitored the communication station. "It's not random," Juu replied, studying the pattern of pulses and gaps. "Too regular. Someone made this." The crew exchanged nervous glances. Humans had only met 3 alien species so far, and none had been particularly friendly. They were still new to the stars, having achieved faster-than-light travel just 30 years ago. "Plot a course," Juu ordered. "We need to check it out." Lieutenant Doa frowned. "Captain, protocol suggests we should report this to Earth Command first." Juu shook her head. "By the time we get approval, whoever sent this might be gone, or dead. This could be a distress call." The Horizon changed direction, its engines glowing blue against the blackness. As they traveled, the ship's computer worked to decode the signal, but the alien mathematics defied human understanding. 5 days later, they entered the uncharted system. The signal came from a small green moon orbiting a massive gas giant with swirling purple storms. The moon looked peaceful, covered in strange blue vegetation and shallow oceans. "Life signs?" Juu asked. "Very faint," reported the science officer. "One cluster near the signal source." They landed in a clearing surrounded by tall, spiral-shaped plants. Through the viewports, they could see the remains of what had once been a settlement. Delicate spires of crystal-like material, now shattered and broken. In the center stood a damaged tower still emitting the signal. Juu led the away team, all wearing sealed environmental suits. Earth had taught humans to be cautious. Their home planet's high gravity, extreme seasons, and dangerous wildlife had made them stronger than most species they'd encountered, but also more careful. They moved through the ruins slowly. No bodies were visible, but the destruction was recent, perhaps days old. "Captain," called Doa, pointing to a building that was still partly intact. "Movement inside." They approached carefully, weapons ready. The structure resembled a greenhouse made of thin, translucent material that sparkled in the sunlight. Inside, they found a single being huddled in the corner. The alien was unlike anything they'd seen before. Its body resembled fine crystal, with a core that glowed with soft blue light. It had 4 upper limbs and a lower body that tapered to a point. Where a face might be, there was a cluster of gem-like structures that shifted and realigned as it moved. When it saw the humans, the alien retreated further into the corner, its body vibrating in what seemed like fear. "We won't hurt you," Juu said, though she knew the alien couldn't understand. She motioned her team to lower their weapons and stepped forward slowly. The communications specialist activated the universal translator, broadcasting peaceful tones and simple mathematical sequences that most intelligent species recognized. After several tense minutes, the alien responded with similar patterns. The computer began building a rudimentary translation matrix. "Who? You?" came the rough translation through their helmet speakers. "We are humans," Juu replied simply. "We heard your signal. We came to help." The alien's crystal body flickered with light. "Too late. All gone. Void took them." "Who took your people? What happened here?" "Collective. Consumes all. I hide. Only one left." The alien's name translated roughly as Tal. As the translator improved, Tal explained that their settlement had been attacked by something called the Void Collective, beings that converted organic matter into silicon-based life forms similar to themselves. "You should not be here," Tal said, moving closer to examine them. "Not safe." Lieutenant Doa, growing uncomfortable in the suit, released his helmet seal and removed it, taking a deep breath of the alien air. The ship's analysis had shown it was breathable, though high in methane with trace elements that would be mildly toxic with long exposure. Tal's body pulsed with bright light, a reaction of shock. "You, breathe the poison air, without protection. It's not ideal, Doa said with a shrug, but we can manage it for a while. Impossible, Tal whispered, the translation coming through with tones of awe. Your bodies, so dense, so strong. You walk in poison, in gravity that would crush us. Juwu removed her helmet too, curious about Tal's reaction. Our world is different from yours. Stronger gravity, changing seasons, dangerous animals. We adapted. Deathworlders, Tal said, using a word that didn't translate properly. From the old stories. Beings from harsh worlds who could survive anywhere. We thought, just legends. As the team continued talking with Tal, they learned more. The attack had come suddenly. Black ships appearing from nowhere, releasing clouds of nanomachines that broke down matter at the molecular level. The Concordance, an alliance of species that Tal belonged to, had been fighting the Void Collective for years, but they were losing. Our bodies too fragile, Tal explained. Our warriors tire quickly, cannot fight in toxic zones where Void thrives, cannot survive on worlds they take. Juwu understood then why Tal seemed so interested in their human physiology. You need soldiers who can fight in environments your people can't survive in. Tal's crystal body glowed brighter. The signal was not just distress call. It was search, for legends, for Deathworlders who could help us fight. And you came. That night, as the team made camp, Juwu sat alone, watching the strange stars overhead. They had come looking for people to rescue, but had found something far more significant. A galactic conflict, and a role that perhaps only humans could fill. Captain, Doa joined her, looking troubled. Do you think we should get involved in their war? Juwu watched as Tal communicated with the ship's computer, sharing information about the Void Collective's movements and strengths. I'm not sure we have a choice. If these Void beings are consuming entire worlds, they'll eventually find Earth. But we're just one ship. For now, Juwu said, her mind already planning their next move. But once Earth hears what's happening out here, we won't be alone for long. Humans have always been good at one thing: surviving against the odds. Maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needs right now. The asterisk horizon asterisk hummed quietly as it traveled through hyperspace toward Earth. Captain Juwu had decided they needed to report their discovery immediately. In the ship's conference room, Tal sat at the table with the senior officers, the crystalline alien's body glowing softly in the dim light. Tell us more about your people, Juwu said. And these others you mentioned. The Concordance. Tal's translator device converted the alien's light patterns into words. The Concordance began with 3 species who found each other 2,000 years ago. Now 17 different kinds of people share knowledge, trade, and protection. Doha leaned forward. And none of them come from worlds like Earth. No. Tal's body flickered with what they had learned was amusement. Your Earth would kill most concordant species quickly. Our home planets have gentle gravity, stable climates, few predators, and clean atmospheres. The science officer, Jin, pulled up images of Earth on a screen. Hurricanes, volcanoes, deserts, and Arctic regions. These conditions are normal for us. Tal moved closer to the screen, crystal limbs extending in wonder. This orange area, what is it? A desert, Jin explained. Very hot and dry during the day, cold at night. Humans can survive there with just water and basic shelter. And these white regions, frozen areas, too cold for comfort, but we can live there with proper clothing. Tal's light patterns shifted to a deep blue. Most concordant species would die in either place within hours. As the journey continued, Tal shared more about the Void Collective. They had first appeared 30 years ago, attacking outer colonies. At first, the Concordants thought they were simply another spacefaring species, but soon discovered something more terrifying. They are not truly alive as we understand it, Tal explained one evening. They began as artificial intelligence created by an ancient species. The creators vanished long ago, but their machines evolved. They became a hive mind that spreads by converting matter into more of themselves. Juwu frowned. Like a virus. Yes, but intelligent. They send ships to new worlds. The ships release tiny machines that break down everything. Plants, animals, even dirt and rock. They'd rebuild it all as silicon-based structures that join their network. Security Chief Hyun, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. How many worlds have they taken? 23 completely consumed. 15 more partially converted. They target living planets first. The more life, the more they want it. The implications hung heavy in the air. Earth, with its rich biosphere, would be a prime target. You said the Concordance has better technology than humans. Juwu noted. Why can't you stop them? Tal's body dimmed slightly. Our weapons are advanced, yes. But war is not just about weapons. It is about the warriors who use them. Tal projected an image of another crystalline being, but wearing what looked like a mechanical suit. This is how our soldiers must fight. The suits protect our fragile bodies and enhance strength, but they are heavy. Energy-consuming. A warrior can fight for perhaps 4 hours before needing rest. And the environments? Asked Jin. That is worse. The void creates conditions that harm us. They release radiation. They fill the air with particles that damage our bodies. They increase gravity in their strongholds. Our people simply cannot function in such places. Doha laughed suddenly, drawing surprised looks. Sorry, he said. I was just thinking. All the things that make Earth harsh are exactly what's prepared us for this fight. Yes, Tal's light brightened. Your kind evolved pushing against your world's challenges. The gravity that crushed you made your bones dense. The temperature changes forced your bodies to adapt. The predators made you learn to fight. The poisons in your air gave you strong filters in your lungs. Juwu nodded slowly. We always thought our planet was normal. Now you're saying it's made us into... what? Super soldiers by galactic standards. Not invincible, Tal clarified, but remarkably durable. The legends call you Deathworlders, beings who thrive in conditions that would kill others. That night, unable to sleep, Juwu found Tal in the observation lounge, watching the streaks of light outside the viewports. These void beings, she asked, sitting beside the alien. What do they want? Why convert planets? They seek perfect order, Tal replied. Biological life is chaotic, unpredictable. They replace it with silicon patterns they control. They believe they are creating perfection. And the distress signal. You said it wasn't just a call for help. Tal turned to face her. The Concordance Council has searched for your kind for generations. Old texts spoke of powerful beings from harsh worlds. Most thought it just stories. But some believed. They sent hundreds of encoded signals into unexplored space, hoping to find Deathworlders. And now you found us. Yes, but one ship, one crew, not enough. We need many humans. When they reached Earth, the reception was cautious. Military vessels escorted the Horizon to orbit. Officials demanded to interview Tal under controlled conditions. Juwu and her crew were debriefed extensively. 3 days later, Juwu was called to a meeting with the Unified Earth Council. 12 stern-faced representatives sat around a large table. Tal stood beside her, looking fragile among the humans. We've reviewed your reports, said the head counselor. This Void Collective poses a significant threat. Not just to the Concordance, Juwu emphasized. Eventually to Earth too. Another counselor leaned forward. Yet the Concordance has technology far beyond ours. Why should we risk human lives defending aliens who are more advanced? Tal stepped forward, body glowing brightly. May I demonstrate something? At the council's nod, Tal placed a small device on the table. It projected a 3-dimensional image of 2 soldiers, one human-shaped, one with the crystal form of Tal's species. This shows equal-sized warriors lifting weight, Tal explained. Watch. In the simulation, both figures began lifting metal bars. The crystal being struggled with just one, while the human easily lifted 5. "This is not about technology," Tal said. "It is about biology. Our bodies break easily, tire quickly, cannot endure pain. With your physical abilities and our technology combined, we can fight what neither of us could alone." A murmur ran through the council. The head counselor turned to Juwu. "Captain, your recommendation." Juwu stood straight. "Earth should join the Concordance. We offer what they need. Soldiers who can fight in conditions their people can't survive. They offer what we need: advanced technology and allies against a threat that will eventually reach us. And if we say no?" Juwu met the counselor's gaze steadily. "Then we stand alone when the void finds us. And they will find us. Every day they consume more worlds, growing stronger while we remain ignorant." The council voted that evening. Earth would send representatives to meet the Concordance. They would begin training special forces for combat against the Void Collective. And Captain Juwu Park, who had made first contact, would lead the diplomatic mission. As her ship prepared to depart with Tal and Earth's ambassadors, Juwu looked back at her blue planet. Humans had always seen Earth as a challenging world. Now she understood that those very challenges had prepared humanity for a role among the stars that no one could have predicted. 6 months after Earth's first contact with Tal, Admiral Hannah Kim stood before the United Earth Defense Council in their underground chamber. The room was packed with military leaders and government officials. Behind her, a large screen showed images of devastated worlds. "The intelligence Tal provided has been verified," Admiral Kim said, her voice firm. "In the past month alone, the Void Collective has consumed 3 more inhabited systems. Over 4 billion sentient beings lost." She tapped her control pad, and the screen changed to show strange, geometric structures rising from a barren landscape. "This is what remains after they finish. Everything organic is broken down and rebuilt into silicon processing nodes. These nodes connect to their hive mind, expanding their intelligence and reach." An older general raised his hand. "Admiral, you've spent time with the Concordance forces. Why haven't their advanced weapons stopped this threat?" Hannah smiled tightly. "It's not about their weapons, General. The Concordance has technology centuries ahead of ours. The problem is the users of that technology." She showed a video of crystalline beings like Tal, but wearing complex mechanical suits, retreating from a black mist that seemed to eat through their protective equipment. Their bodies evolved on peaceful worlds, low gravity, stable climate, few environmental toxins. Most concordant species cannot operate in the conditions where the void thrives. Their warriors collapse from simple exhaustion after a few hours in their combat suits. "And you believe humans can do better?" asked the president. "I know we can. We've already tested 50 volunteers in simulated void environments. Conditions that incapacitate concordant soldiers within hours are merely uncomfortable for humans." Admiral Kim outlined her proposal. It was called Operation Firebreak, a joint military action using human soldiers equipped with concordance technology. The first phase would deploy special forces teams to contested worlds, testing human capabilities against the void in real combat situations. 3 weeks later, Commander Jae-hyun stood with his squad of 20 elite soldiers on the bridge of a concordance vessel. Through the viewport, they could see Lyra Prime, once a beautiful garden world, now partially covered in black geometric patterns like a spreading infection. "Remember your training," Jae-hyun told his team. "The void entities aren't alive in the way we understand. They don't feel pain or fear. They operate as a network. Destroy the control nodes, and the smaller units become disorganized." Beside him stood Ril, a concordance military advisor whose delicate plant-like body was housed in a mechanical exoskeleton that allowed them to move in Earth-normal gravity. "We've lost 3 battalions trying to secure the northern continent," Ril said, their translator conveying the despair in their voice. "The fog, it destroys our protective systems. We cannot help you once you're on the ground." Jae-hyun nodded. "We understand. Just get us down there and pick us up when we call." Their dropship descended through the atmosphere, buffeted by strong winds. As they broke through the cloud layer, Jae-hyun saw the boundary between the healthy part of the planet and the infected region, a stark line between green forests and black crystalline structures. "Landing zone is hot," the pilot announced. "Void units detected moving toward our position." "Put us down anyway," Jae-hyun ordered. The moment the ramp lowered, they were hit by the stench, a chemical reek that made their eyes water. The air was filled with a greenish fog that limited visibility to about 20 meters. Their concordance-designed armor sealed automatically, filtering the worst of it. "Oxygen levels at 19%, reported Lieutenant Mina, checking her sensors. "Elevated carbon dioxide, sulfur compounds, and something they don't have a name for. Radiation at 6 rims and rising." "Uncomfortable but survivable," Jae-hyun said. "Move out. Formation Delta." They advanced toward the nearest void structure, a towering black spire that pulsed with faint blue light. Their concordance weapons felt strange but effective, firing concentrated energy bolts that shattered the smaller void constructs that scuttled toward them on spider-like legs. Concordance records show their forces couldn't get within a kilometer of that central node, Sergeant Kang said, checking his tactical display. The fog disabled their exoskeletons, and the radiation poisoned them within minutes. Jae-hyun felt the burning in his lungs and the prickling of his skin from the radiation, but it was manageable. "Keep moving. We have maybe 4 hours before exposure becomes dangerous." They fought their way forward, meter by meter. The void constructs became more numerous, more sophisticated. Some looked almost like twisted parodies of the native life forms that had once lived here. 2 hours in, Private G took a hit from an energy weapon that cut through his armor and into his shoulder. Blood soaked his uniform, but he kept firing. "G, fall back to the extraction point," Jae-hyun ordered. "No, sir," Jai replied through gritted teeth. "I can still fight." Sergeant Kang patched into the Concordance observation post. "They're watching us through drones. They can't believe what they're seeing." "What do you mean?" Jae-hyun asked, diving behind cover as energy bolts sizzled overhead. "They're amazed we're still functioning. Their soldiers would be dead by now from the environmental conditions alone, never mind combat injuries." Jae-hyun didn't have time to think about it. They were approaching the central node, a massive crystalline structure that vibrated with energy. According to their briefing, destroying it would disrupt void control in this entire region. "Plant the charges," he ordered. "Everyone else, defensive positions." As Mina and 2 others placed explosive devices, the rest of the team held off waves of void constructs. The fighting was intense. 3 more soldiers were injured, but no one retreated. "Charges set," Mina called. 2-minute timer. "Fall back," Jae-hyun ordered. They fought their way back toward the extraction point, half carrying their wounded. Behind them, the charges detonated with a blinding flash. The shockwave knocked them down, but when they looked back, the central node was collapsing, its blue glow fading. All around them, the smaller void constructs began moving erratically, some attacking each other, others simply shutting down. "It worked," Kang said in disbelief. "We actually did it." The Concordance dropship appeared above them, hovering cautiously. "Target destroyed," Jae-hyun reported. "Mission accomplished. Request immediate extraction. We have wounded." As they boarded the ship, the Concordance crew stared at them in what seemed like awe. The humans were filthy, bloody, exhausted, but alive and mostly functional. Rill approached them, mechanical exoskeleton wearing. "Impossible," they said. "You survived conditions that would kill our strongest warriors in minutes. And you're wounded." Sergeant Kang grinned through the blood on his face from a scalp wound. "They bleed," he said, "but they keep fighting. Humans just keep going." Later, in the ship's medical bay, Jae-hyun received a transmission from Admiral Kim. Her face on the screen looked pleased but concerned. "Congratulations, Commander. The Concordance High Council is calling your mission a miracle. They've authorized full production of human-adapted versions of their combat systems. It wasn't easy, Jae-hyun admitted. We lost no one, but 5 are seriously injured. But you succeeded where their best troops failed, Kim replied. Operation Firebreak is now officially active. We're deploying 12 more teams to hot zones across 3 systems. As the ship carried them back to the Concordance fleet, Jae-hyun looked at his battered team with pride. Humans had always considered themselves ordinary in the grand scheme of things. Now they were discovering that what was ordinary on Earth made them extraordinary among the stars. The war against the Void Collective had been raging for 6 months. What began with one small human squad on Lyra Prime had grown into a joint military operation spanning dozens of star systems. Thousands of human soldiers now fought alongside their Concordance allies, pushing back the Silicon invaders for the first time in years. At the main human base on Concordance Prime, engineers worked day and night, modifying alien technology for human use. The Concordance had centuries of advanced science, but their equipment had always been designed for beings who rarely faced physical danger. Lee, a human engineer, made final adjustments to a new combat suit. Unlike the bulky exoskeletons the Concordance species needed, this design was sleek and flexible, enhancing human strength without limiting movement. "Try it now," he told the soldier testing the prototype. The soldier moved through a series of combat stances, then jumped 3 meters into the air, landing softly. Perfect balance. The weight distribution is much better. Across the room, Concordance scientists studied medical data from human subjects. A delicate insect-like alien named Pell was explaining human biology to his colleagues. "Most fascinating is their backup systems," Pell said, pointing to a holographic human anatomy. 2 kidneys when one would suffice. The liver that regenerates. Lungs with excess capacity. Their bodies expect damage and prepare for it. Another scientist, whose translucent body rippled with light patterns, added, "And their pain response. It warns them of danger but doesn't disable them. Our species feel pain so intensely we cannot function through it." In the command center, Admiral Kim met with Commander Jae-hyun and his team leaders. A large holographic map showed void-controlled territories in red, contested areas in yellow, and secure zones in blue. 6 months ago, nearly everything had been red. Now large patches of blue had appeared, with yellow zones pushing deeper into enemy territory. "The Void is adapting to our tactics," Jae-hyun reported. "They're learning to target human weaknesses specifically." Kim nodded grimly. "That's why our next mission is so critical. Intelligence has located what appears to be a major hive nexus on Tarsus II." The map zoomed in on a harsh, rocky world orbiting a red giant star. Surface scans showed a landscape of jagged mountains and deep canyons, with void structures clustered around a central crater. "Tarsus II is a mineral world," Kim explained. "High gravity, thin atmosphere loaded with sulfuric acid, and surface temperatures fluctuating between boiling and freezing as it rotates." Sergeant Kang whistled softly. "No wonder the Void chose it. Nothing could live there naturally." "Exactly. They've never had to defend it because no Concordance species could mount an attack. Their exoskeletons would dissolve in the atmosphere in seconds." Jae-hyun studied the tactical display. "But we can survive it. For how long?" "With the new equipment, our scientists estimate 4 to 6 hours before exposure becomes critical. Should be enough time." 3 days later, 5 dropships entered the turbulent atmosphere of Tarsus II. Inside the lead ship, Jae-hyun and his elite squad checked their new combat suits one last time. "Remember," he told them, "this isn't just about destroying another node. We need to capture intact void technology. The science team thinks they found a weakness, but they need samples to confirm it." The ships landed on a plateau 2 kilometers from the main void structure. The moment the doors opened, they were hit by the reality of Tarsus II. Despite their sealed suits, they could feel the crushing gravity, nearly twice Earth normal. The thin air howled around them. carrying particles that left tiny pits in exposed equipment surfaces. "Move quickly," Jae-hyun ordered. "We don't know how long the suits will hold up in this environment." They advanced in 3 teams, using the rugged terrain for cover. Unlike previous encounters, they met no resistance at first. The Void Collective had grown overconfident, never expecting an attack on this fortress world. When they reached the outer perimeter of the Hive Nexus, they finally encountered Void constructs, larger and more advanced than any they'd seen before. The battle was fierce, with energy weapons lighting up the dim landscape under the red giant sun. "They're protecting something important," Lieutenant Minna said as they fought their way deeper. "These defenses are stronger than anything we've seen." At the center of the complex, they found it, a pulsing crystalline structure different from other Void technology. Instead of black silicon, this was a strange blue material that seemed to flicker between solid and liquid states. "That's it," said the science officer attached to their team. "That's what we came for." The theoretical center of their hive mind communication. As they secured the area, Sergeant Kang noticed something odd. "Commander, look at these Void units. They're not attacking anymore." The remaining constructs had indeed stopped fighting. They stood motionless, as if waiting. "They're watching us," Jae-hyun realized. "Learning. This is the first time they've faced us directly on one of their strongholds." The science team worked quickly, setting up containment fields around smaller pieces of the blue crystal structure. As they worked, the intense environment of Tarsus II began taking its toll. 2 soldiers collapsed from the combination of gravity and toxic atmosphere seeping through their damaged suits. "We need to move," Jae-hyun ordered. "We've got what we came for." They fought their way back to the extraction point, carrying their wounded and the precious samples. As the dropships lifted off, they looked down to see hundreds of Void constructs converging on the area they'd just left. "They nearly had us," Mina said, removing her helmet to reveal a face streaked with sweat and blood. "But they didn't," Jae-hyun replied. "And now we have what we need to potentially end this war." 2 weeks later, Ambassador Tal addressed the full Concordance Council. Representatives of all 17 member species attended, along with human delegates. The central chamber was designed to accommodate beings of wildly different biologies, some floating in liquid tanks, others in specially pressurized areas. "Honored Council," Tal began, crystal body glowing brightly. "6 months ago, many doubted when I brought news of humans. Some called them primitives, technologically inferior. Others questioned if they truly existed. Today, I present the evidence of their value." Holographic displays showed human forces fighting on worlds the Concordance had written off as lost. Medical data demonstrated human resilience. Engineering schematics revealed how human designs had improved Concordance technology. "The humans call their homeworld Earth, but by our standards, it is hell itself," Tal continued. "Crushing gravity, atmospheric corrosives, extreme temperature variations, and apex predators shaped them into the warriors before you. What we consider unsurvivable, they consider merely uncomfortable. What we see as certain death, they see as a challenge." Tal gestured to the samples recovered from Tarsus II, now being studied in a secure laboratory. "Because of humans, we have captured the control technology of the Void for the first time. Our scientists believe we can now develop a weapon that will disrupt their hive mind across entire systems." The tide has turned. The council chamber erupted in the varied sounds of 17 species celebrating. Among them stood Jae-hyun, still recovering from injuries sustained on Tarsus II, watching as the alliance between humans and the Concordance grew stronger. That night, at a ceremonial dinner, an elderly Concordance leader approached him. The being's translucent body was supported by an elaborate mechanical framework. "Commander," the alien said through its translator, "before you came, we had resigned ourselves to a slow defeat. We had the knowledge to fight but lacked the physical ability to use it. You provided what we were missing." Jae-hyun nodded respectfully. "And you gave us access to technology we might not have developed for centuries. Together, we're stronger than either would be alone." The turning point had come. What had started with a desperate distress signal had become the galaxy's best hope for survival. The massive starship Retribution hung in orbit above a hellish world. Through the viewports, Captain Juwu Park could see the surface below. A nightmare landscape of black silicon structures rising from oceans of molten rock. This was Terminus, the heart of the Void Collective, their primary processing world. Final equipment check, Juwu ordered. In the year since she had first responded to Tal's distress signal, she had risen from exploration captain to commander of the largest joint human concordance battle fleet ever assembled. Around her, 500 human soldiers prepared for the most dangerous mission yet. Their specially designed combat suits incorporated the best of concordance technology, adapted to human biology. Even so, the environmental systems would only last 5 hours in the extreme conditions on Terminus. Lieutenant Doha, now her second in command, approached with the final reports. All teams ready, Captain. The Concordance ships are in position to provide orbital support, but as we expected, none of their personnel can join the ground assault. Juwu nodded. The surface would kill them instantly. This one's on us. The plan had been months in the making, ever since the captured technology from Tarsus II had revealed the location of the Void's central consciousness. Scientists had determined that destroying it would cause a cascade failure throughout the entire hive mind, potentially ending the war in a single stroke. The drop ships are ready, Doha said. Are you sure you want to lead this personally? High Command would prefer you coordinate from orbit. Juwu checked her weapon one last time. I found Tal. I started this. I'll finish it. 20 minutes later, their drop ships plunged through Terminus' toxic atmosphere. The heat shields glowed white-hot as they descended. Inside, the troops felt the temperature rising despite their cooling systems working at maximum capacity. Surface temperature reading 487 degrees Celsius, the pilot announced. Atmospheric pressure at 52 times Earth standard. Toxic gas concentrations off the charts. Just get us down in one piece, Juwu replied calmly. They landed on a flat plane of black silicon, the ship's landing gear sinking slightly into the semi-solid surface. The moment the ramps lowered, the true nature of Terminus hit them. A wall of heat so intense it felt solid, crushing pressure that made every movement an effort, and an atmosphere that would have dissolved unprotected flesh in seconds. Move out, Juwu ordered through the comm system. Remember your training. 5 hours until system failure. We need to reach the central node in 2 hours to have time for the operation. They advanced across the nightmarish landscape, their boots leaving temporary impressions in the silicon surface that quickly reformed behind them. Around them rose twisted structures that pulsed with blue energy, the physical manifestation of the Void Collective's consciousness. The resistance was immediate and intense. Void constructs emerged from the silicon surface, some resembling mechanical spiders, others floating orbs that fired energy pulses, and a few humanoid shapes that moved with disturbing grace. They know why we're here, Sergeant Kang said, firing his weapon at a cluster of approaching constructs. They're throwing everything at us. Juwu checked her tactical display. Stay on course. The central node is 3 kilometers ahead. Team 2, circle right. Team 3, provide covering fire. They fought their way forward meter by meter. The battle was brutal. 20 minutes in, they lost their first soldier when a void energy beam penetrated his armor. By the 1-hour mark, 30 more were wounded but still fighting. They just keep coming, Doha said during a brief pause in the fighting. His suit showed minor damage, with warning indicators flashing. It means we're getting close, Juwu replied. Look ahead. Rising before them was a massive structure unlike anything they'd seen before, a perfect geometric shape that seemed to defy the laws of physics, angles shifting in ways that hurt the eyes to look at directly. Blue energy coursed through it in patterns that suggested a kind of language. That's it, Juwu said. The central node of the Void Collective consciousness. Getting to it proved to be the hardest part of the mission. The void threw everything it had at them. New types of constructs, energy fields that disabled their weapons, even manipulating the silicon surface to trap soldiers. 2 hours into the mission, they reached the base of the structure. Half their force was wounded, their suits showing critical damage from the extreme environment. The cooling systems were beginning to fail, the internal temperature of their armor rising steadily. Deploy the device, Jiwoo ordered. Engineers set up the weapon they'd developed using the captured void technology, a quantum resonance disruptor designed to shatter the unique crystalline structure of the central node. We need 10 minutes to calibrate it, the lead engineer reported, and someone needs to place these transmitters at specific points around the structure. Jiwoo took the transmitters herself. Cover me, she ordered, and ran toward the structure. Placing each transmitter required exposing herself to direct fire from the void constructs. By the time she placed the last one, her suit was badly damaged, warnings flashing across her helmet display. Transmitters in place, she reported, diving behind cover as energy beams crisscrossed where she had been standing. Activate the disruptor. The engineers initiated the sequence. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then a high-pitched tone filled their comm systems, and the blue energy in the central node began to flicker erratically. "It's working," Dohwa shouted. "The node is destabilizing." The structure began to vibrate, blue energy pulsing faster and faster. Around them, the void constructs suddenly stopped attacking, freezing in place as if confused. "Everyone back to the ships," Jiwoo ordered. "Move." They retreated as quickly as they could, carrying their wounded. Behind them, the central node's vibrations grew more violent until, with a silent flash that temporarily blinded their sensors, it collapsed in on itself. A shockwave rippled across the surface of Terminus. Everywhere, void constructs fell apart, crumbling into piles of inert silicon. The massive structures that had dominated the landscape began to collapse. As their ships lifted off, Jiwoo watched through the viewport as the void's primary world tore itself apart, the conscious silicon returning to lifeless matter. "All ships report in," she commanded once they reached orbit. Despite heavy casualties, most of their force had made it out. The Concordance fleet was waiting for them, and the comm channels filled with alien voices celebrating. Reports were already coming in from across the galaxy. Everywhere, void constructs were shutting down, the hive mind connection severed. 1 year later, Earth was formally inducted into the Galactic Concordance. The ceremony took place in a massive space station constructed specially to accommodate both humans and all 17 Concordance species. Ambassador Tal, now the Concordance High Speaker, addressed the gathered delegates, their crystalline body glowing with ceremonial patterns. "We once feared Deathworlders," Tal said, voice translated to all present. "Creatures evolved in nightmarish conditions we could barely comprehend. Today, we celebrate them, the very attributes that made humans terrifying. Their density, their strength, their adaptability to toxic environments, their ability to endure pain and trauma that would kill any of us. These are the qualities that saved the galaxy." Captain Jiwoo, now Admiral, stepped forward to accept the Stellar Covenant on behalf of humanity. She had refused advanced medical procedures to remove her scars from Terminus, wearing them as a reminder of those who hadn't returned. "On Earth, we have a saying," she told the assembly. "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Our homeworld tried to kill us for millions of years. It made us strong enough to stand here today as your allies and protectors." Later, at the celebration, Jiwoo found Tal standing alone, looking out at the stars. "Do you ever think about that first meeting?" she asked. "When the Horizon found your signal?" "Often," Tal replied. "One small call into the darkness, one ship that chose to investigate. It changed everything," Jiwoo said. "For both our peoples." Yes, the Concordance gained defenders. But what did humanity gain? Jiwoo smiled, watching humans and aliens mingling together, sharing stories and knowledge. Purpose. For centuries, we wondered if we were alone in the universe. Now we know we're not just not alone. We're needed. The distress signal that had reached across the void had done more than save alien worlds. It had given humanity its purpose among the stars.